Namaskar, myself Pratik. In this session, we are going to discuss a priori algorithm for finding association rules. Let us start this session. We have discussed in our previous session that a priori algorithm is given by two Indians, Rakesh Agarwal and Ramkrishnan Shrikant. And this algorithm is base for commonly used all recommendation systems. This recommendation system has multiple applications like online purchases, video recommendation, product recommendations, and so on. A priori algorithm worked in two phases. In phase 1, it identifies frequent item sets, and in phase 2, it generates association mining rules. Let us discuss both of these phases by taking a working example. So let us consider this data set where we have 5 transactions, and you can see that in these 5 transactions we have multiple items. In transaction 1 we have 4 items, while in transaction 2 we have 3 items. You can see that in this data set all the items in a transaction has been arranged in ascending order. This is the important prerequisite requirement to apply a priori algorithm. So before applying a priori algorithm, you have to ensure that your items should be in ascending order in the transaction. We wish to find out all association mining rules with minimum value of support as 50% and confidence as 75%. Since the minimum value of support is 50% and we have 5 transactions in this, so we are looking for all the item set which has a support of more than 2.5 or simply which has a support of 3 or more than that. In first step of a priori algorithm, we identify candidate one item set. It means in first step we identify all the items available in the data set. If we look at this data set, there are total 6 items. One is bread, second is cornflakes, third is eggs, fourth is jam, fifth is milk, and sixth is tea. So these are 6 items: bread, cornflakes, eggs, milk, jam and tea in the data set, and this make candidate one item set, and we used symbol C1 for this. So C1 is candidate one item set. These are all the items available in the data set. Now in step 2 we identify frequent one item sets. It means all those one item sets having frequency equal to the threshold value of support. Here we are looking for all the items where frequency is equal to or more than 3. So here we have listed all those individual item set where frequency is equal to or more than 3 by traversing the data set. So you can see that bread has a frequency of 4, cornflakes and milk has frequency of 3, while jam has frequency of 4. These are 4 frequent one item sets, and we have a code for this as L1. So L1 is considered as frequent one item set, mean that all one items which has frequency equal to or more than the threshold value of support. In this case the threshold value of support is 3. So we have listed all the items which has frequency 3 or more than that. And you can see that out of 6 we have 4 items which satisfy this threshold value. This is step 2, and in step 2 we have identified frequent one item sets. Now in step 3 we identify candidate 2 item sets. That it means that now we are creating all possible 2 item sets out of L1, and this is considered as C2 because it is candidate 2 item sets. So in step 3 we are identifying candidate 2 item sets based on our findings of L1, and here we are creating all possible 2 item set combinations based on our L1 values, and we are naming this as C2. You can see here C2 is created on the basis of L1, and L1 is our frequent one item sets. By joining L1 with itself we can create C2. So here I am going to explain the process of joining L1 with L1. You can see in L1 we have these 4 item sets: bread, cornflakes, milk and jam. So here I have listed all these 4 items, and now I am joining L1 with L1. So let us perform this joining operations. So first row is bread. Bread can make 4 possible pairs. One with bread, second is bread cornflakes, third is bread milk, and fourth is bread jam. Since we are interested in different item pairs, so bread will solve no purpose, so we will not consider this pair. The possible item pairs is bread cornflakes, second is bread milk, and third one is bread jam as shown here. The next item is cornflakes. So again there are 4 possible pair for cornflakes. The first is cornflake breads. We have already considered this pair under bread cornflakes, so there is no need to consider this because it is already covered under bread cornflakes. This is redundant. Cornflakes will carry no information, so we will ignore that. So there are 2 possible pair for cornflakes. One is cornflakes milk and another is cornflakes jams as shown here. Next is milk, and milk can make again 4 possible pairs. Milk and bread already covered in this. Milk cornflakes is already covered in this. So let's ignore this also. Milk carry no information. So only pair is milk and jam. So only possible pair is milk and jam. So this jam will also make 4 pairs. Jam carry no information. While all these 3 pairs are already available in this, we have pair for bread and jam. We also have a pair of jam and cornflakes. We also have a pair of jam and milk. There is no new item pair possible with this jam. So ultimately you can see that there are 3 item pairs possible with bread. One is bread cornflakes, second is bread milk, and third is bread jam. 2 pair possible with cornflakes. One is cornflake milk and second is cornflakes jam. While 1 item pair is possible with milk and jam. So total there will be 6 2 item pairs as shown here. So we can generalize this process by numbering all these item pairs with 1 to 4. Let's consider these as I and let's consider these as J. So during joining process we are only considered with those item pair where I is less than J, because we are not interested in those item pairs where I is equal to J. It means bread, cornflakes, milk, and jam will carry no information, so we will not consider this. Since we are considering those relations where I is less than J, it means that bread and cornflake has already been covered, so we will ignore cornflakes and bread. We will ignore all those situations where I is greater than J, because the item pair is already covered under I less than J. So this I greater than J will be redundant, so we will also not consider this. So we are not considering those cases where I is equal to J or I greater than J. We are only considering those cases where I is less than J during this joining process. And simply you can iterate it this way. So there are 3 item pairs for bread, 2 for cornflakes and 1 for milk, and total there are 6 pairs, which we considered it as C2. Here we have also listed their frequencies. In step 3 we have identified candidate 2 item sets, and this is named as C2. In step 4 we have to identify frequent 2 item sets. We know that which has frequency more than or equal to threshold value of support. Here our threshold value of support is 2.5. So we should only consider those item pair where frequency is 3 or more than that. This is the frequency of each item pair in C2. We should consider only those item pairs where frequency is 3 or more than that. We have 2 item pairs for this, and these are bread jam and cornflake jams. So we have identified frequent 2 item pairs and we named this as L2, and we performed this in step 4. So in step 4 we have identified frequent 2 item sets, and we have identified that bread jam and cornflakes jams are 2 frequent item pairs. So up to this point you can see that in first step we have created one item pair. We named it as candidate one item pair under C1. Then we pick L1, which are frequent one item pairs. So here we have picked only those one items where frequency is more than or equal to 3. Then we created C2 by performing L1 join L1 by joining L1 with itself, and joining is performed for only those pairs where I is less than j. We will not consider I equal to j or I greater than j because this will be redundant and this will carry no information. This way we have total 6 item pair in C2. Then in L2 we pick only those item pair which satisfy the threshold value of support, which is 3 in this case. We have picked bread jam and cornflake jams as frequent 2 item sets and we named this as L2. So we have performed this under step 4. Now in step 5 we have to identify candidate 3 item sets or C3, and C3 will be created by joining L2 with itself. If we try to generalize this, we can say that Ck is equal to Lk minus 1 join Lk minus 1. So if k is 3, then C3 will be created by L2 join L2. So we can create C3 by joining L2 with itself. And there is another very important joining rule. 2 items are considered joinable if their first k minus 2 items are same. Let's read this line again. 2 item pairs are joinable if their first k minus 2 items are same. It means for creating C3, the rule is the first item should be same in L2 because the rules state that they are joinable if their first k minus 2 items are same. If our k is 3, then for C3 the condition will be their k minus 2 items, that will be 1. So the condition will be the first item should be same in L2. And if I consider C2 means k equal to 2, then k minus 2 will be 0. So in case of C2 there is no requirement of first item similarity because k minus 2 in case of C2 is 0. So that's why during creation of C2 we have not considered this rule because there is no requirement of first item similarity for building C2. But this is important requirement for creating C3. So during creation of C3 we have to check their first item should be same in the L2. And if their first item is same, then only we can join. Otherwise we cannot join it. But this is not the requirement in case of C2 because k minus 2 is 0 in this case. So for C2 there is no requirement of first item similarity. While for C3 there is a requirement of first item similarity. Now let us consider one more case. If I have to create C4, then C4 will be created by L3 join of L3. Now in this case, first k minus 2 items should be same. It means for C4, first 2 items should be same in L3. So during creation of C4, this will be our rule. First 2 items should be same in L3. And during C3, first 1 item should be same because k minus 2 is 1 in this case. Here we have this L2. So let us create C3. So C3 will be created by L2 join of L2. But for this, their first item should be same. So here first item is bread and first item is cornflake, which is not same. So I can say that C3 will be null or C3 is not possible in this particular case. So we will stop at this point because C3 become null. So we will have only maximum 2 item pairs. There is no frequent 3 item pair in this data set. We have only frequent 2 item pairs in this data set, and these are bread jam and cornflake jams. These are 2 frequent item pair, and we do not obtain a candidate 3 item set since we don't have 2 item sets that have same first items. So this completes the first phase of a priori algorithm. This has been concluded here. So in first step, we have to create C1, which is candidate 1 item set. In second step, we will check its frequency and select frequent 1 item sets. We will name this as L1. From L1, we will create candidate 2 item sets. We will name this as C2. We will check their frequency and select frequent 2 item pairs, that will be considered as L2. Now L2 will be joined with L2 to create C3, that will be frequent 3 item pairs, and during this the condition should be the first item should be same in L2, then only we can create C3. This was not possible in our case. If we have one first item common in them, then we will create C3. Out of these C3 item sets, we will select frequent 3 item sets, that will be considered as L3. Then from L3 we will create C4, L4 and so on until we are able to find out candidate item pairs. In this case, we are not able to find out any C3, so we will stop at this point. Here we have two frequent item pairs, that is bread jam and cornflakes jams. And in next phase, we will create the rules based on these two item pairs. This is all about the first phase of a priori algorithm. In next video session, we will discuss the second phase, that is generation of rules based on our frequent item sets. This is all about this session. To read more on this, you can refer my book Data Mining and Data Warehousing, Principles and Practical Techniques, published by Cambridge University Press. This book is available in both Kindle and paperback format, and it is available at Amazon platform. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel to receive latest video tutorials on topics like data mining, machine learning, DBMS, big data, NoSQL and many more. We have created multiple courses over Udemy platform, and these are Simplified Approach to DBMS, Simplified Approach to SQL, Mastering PL/SQL and Mastering Machine Learning. You can join these courses over Udemy platform to learn these concepts. I have also authored books on DBMS, NoSQL, Beginning with SQL and PL/SQL for beginners. All these books are available at Amazon platform. To read more about this, you can refer my website prateekbhatia.com. Thanks for watching this video.